All right. For the audience of zero, we're going to do the introductions. This is our second go around. A start of the year, one of the things that we want to do is the industry landscape in 2026 is going to change drastically. We've got a lot of industry related changes that are happening. You've got regulatory issues. You've got capital requirements. You've got just a lot of consolidation that's happening. But then we've got also stuff out of our industry that is really going to have a major impact on an originator's life and even our borrowers, like AI and technology and everything else. And so starting this year, what we're going to set up here is conversations with some really smart people to talk about all those changes, but be very topical. And in this case, and this is where I get to shut up, learning from our last one, I did too long of an introduction. We got, besides Steve Rennie and Peter Tenfjord, the two best beards in the business. We got David Smith and Bryan Bergjans. They are military and veteran leaders in the organization, and the things that you guys do is pretty amazing. If you don't mind, and David, I'll have you go first. Just give a little bit of background, kind of who you are, where you came from, how you got into this. Pivot to Bryan, and then we'll just jump right into the questions.
Yeah. So my name is David Smith. I'm former Army. I served a total of 8 years. Loved my time in the military. Unfortunately, got injured, had to get out. Got into real estate. I've been in the real estate world now for 23, 24 years, something like that. Shifted over to mortgage about 15 years ago. I've been a trainer in the VA world for a long time. I spent a lot of my time on business development. I spent a lot of my time just educating the public, educating realtors, and being a part of change and a part of direction for what this community is all about. So it's what I love. I've been with this organization now. I've been here at Loan Depot for almost 4 years. So it's what I care about. But Bryan?
Well, Bryan Bergjans, I made the right choice of joining the Navy. And so I've been in the Navy for 22 years, still serving today. Been in mortgage for 23 years. So pretty much my whole adult life, all I've known is mortgage and military. And I take a great deal of satisfaction that I still have all my hair, being that I'm in mortgage and military, and I got 2 kids. So I've been focused on VA. Funny thing about VA is I think it kind of finds you sometimes. Your niche kind of finds you. You don't find it. And it found me in 2008, 2009 during the mortgage meltdown. And so I got smart real fast when the people I was serving with were struggling getting deals done during the mortgage meltdown. So I got smart, learned the handbook forward and backwards, which if you want something to put you to sleep, read that bad boy. And right around 2012, I got introduced to teaching and educating through my local education directors. They've kind of pushed me towards that because I used to hold court at a lot of events, not realizing I was kind of holding court. And so I got kind of shoved into teaching and, be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's kind of teaching, especially with realtors, when you walk in the door and there's 50 to 75 people in there and you're actually the worst loan officer out of the group. You know what I mean? Because everybody's an internet loan officer. So been focusing on national military and veteran lending initiatives since 2014, which I truly enjoy. I love being a part of, obviously working with folks like David, my little brother over there.
I hear you.
But what I really enjoy is the whole ecosystem of supporting military and veterans as an organization. I cut my teeth in the originations piece, upfront point of sale stuff, but what I really enjoy is the whole thing. Like, what do we do? How do we support our military and veterans after point of sale, right? Because that's really just as big of a piece of puzzle as the front, right? Because you can do a great job up front, but if you suck at servicing, or customer service or don't know how to talk to them or navigate their current situations, it doesn't, all that stuff up front was for nothing.
No.
Right.
So I think the Navy just won a bowl game, right?
The Navy won the Army-Navy game first.
I was told, we learned from the first go around that I need to have some reins on me. So like Peter and Steve maybe had questions, and Steve actually made me write that question down. David, I was going to spare you, but I do think
nothing like good friends.
I think the question was, hey, what happened in the Army-Navy game again? We don't remember.
No,
that was the question.
Yeah,
But
all you need to remember is there's another game being played next year. That's good enough.
The crazy thing about that game, though, is Army was ahead the whole time, and I turned my head and Navy came back. I thought for sure David was going to be wearing, or Bryan, you were going to be wearing Army outfits.
Yes, I was 100% convinced I was going to be rocking Army stuff at the Leadership Summit. I literally went into my.
I knew it was all going downhill when I started getting text messages, and I had people all across the country that work at our company texting me, going, "Look at Army. This is insane."
And I was convinced, man. I was good. I already went into this. I was going to be out of pocket for an hour coaching a basketball game, so I was convinced. I went in. My son and my wife. I was like, "Hey, I'm rocking Army stuff at the Leadership Summit. The Navy's getting hammered, and I deserve it because I talked a lot of smack." And then the game was over. I was walking out, and I got at least 50 text messages going, "You are so lucky, man."
I know. How cool is it what they do with the bands at the end? In each corner. I have not seen the end of the game and how they celebrate. It was really cool.
Yeah, going to one is an awesome experience. It is a bucket list item. I was very fortunate to go to one in 2019 when Navy beat the absolute snot out of Army again.
I don't remember that.
So
let's pull. We're getting back on the rails.
All right, going nuts right now, guys.
And then Steve, I'm going to let you kind of take over. But there was one thing I want to highlight, more of a substantiation, because you guys both said this, and I know it to be true. You guys had talked about education of realtors and veterans. And if you had to estimate over the last few years, use whatever number comes into your head. If you had to estimate how many realtors you've educated and how many, veterans you've educated over the last few years, what does that number look like?
Last 2 years, I'm going to tell you, we're right around 35,000 realtors and 20,000 veterans and active duty service members.
That's so awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. So we, education's big. That in my world, I spend a lot of my time on the education piece and business development, and I teach real estate agents live. I teach them online, kind of like what we're doing right now through stuff like this. Have automated programs that are running from the consumer standpoint. Bryan and I are extremely fortunate. We get a chance to go to some of these different units. We get a chance to go onto military bases. Not all the bases, but some of the bases allow us to come in. We lead with education. And then we also run online programs as well, because that's the biggest misconception. When you start looking at all the stats, you start realizing that, we have so many people that are eligible to use this program, and less than 20% are actually taking advantage of it. And the number one reason why is the lack of education. That's what we have to focus on.
Well, it's funny. Sorry to jump in real quick, but I was doing a little bit of research before this call. Now, this is an important one for me, but and correct me if I'm wrong here, I think we have 16 million veterans in the States right now. Is that still about right?
That's just your veteran community. That doesn't even account the active duty, the National Guard, the reserves. All
right. Yep. And then about 4 million have an active VA loan, home loan.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. And then 33% say that they misunderstand their VA benefits of that 16 million. So about 10 million plus.
I would say that's being very gracious.
Yeah, that's low.
Because,
that was a survey. Yeah. So probably
more than that.
And Peter, did you just flex that you know how to use Google? Was that your flex there, that you know how to use Google? And
yeah, I just picked up this Google thing. It's pretty cool. I'll send you a link. It's called the URL. You got it. But so to your point, David, that you still got a lot of work to do, right? 10 million plus, probably 15 million or 16 million veterans, and these are active duty.
We run into it all the time. When we travel around and we do some of our speaking engagements at these different different units that we go to, you got a room full of people, especially because you got to remember, a lot of these folks are going to be first-time home buyers. They don't even know what the home buying process is, much less the VA mortgage process. And that's what we keep running into. And when you start to marry all that together with education, it's just, it wins. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Hey, this is a random question, but my dad's a veteran and he served a long time ago, and he was in the mortgage industry until he retired in 2008 and had no idea. I asked him about doing a VA loan when he was trying to refi his house, and I was like, do you know anything about your VA benefits? And he's like, I have medical insurance. Like, he's in his 80s now, but like he was in his 70s, and like that was his thought on VA benefits. Is there a difference between like the elder community and VA benefits, maybe lack of education and knowledge, versus like the newer first-time homebuyer community coming in? Is there a disparity there? Like, or is that just
you gotta remember, if you look at historically how this program was built, right? And the lifeline of the program, right? It's been around for 80 plus years. I would say that, and this is probably why you run into scenarios like this, and David can attest to this, going out and hitting the road and teaching and educating, is you have a group of vets from late 70s all the way through the 80s and probably the early 90s, right? Who have no idea that they're even entitled to it, because VA didn't make the pivot to allowing National Guard and reserves to be entitled to the VA benefit until the 90s. Right? So when you go out and teach and educate, or like both of my grandpas served in wars, and my dad was 82nd Airborne, and not a single human being in the Bergjans side used the VA.
What a great Army member he is.
Right? So, but you have the reserve and the peacetime people and all that kind of stuff during the 80s and early 90s. And with the VA changes not happening until the late 90s, you have this large group of folks who have no idea that they're entitled to it. We used to run into this all the time where we'd have a reservist go, yeah, I'm a vet, but I'm just a reservist.
I'm just National Guard.
And you're like, listen, man, there's no I'm just. I mean, I'll tell you this now, post 9/11, you don't hear that shit. I mean, obviously, right? Because that's, post 9/11, I'm just a reservist. Yeah, well, guess what? You deployed 4 times. So obviously you're entitled to the benefit.
But so I'll tell you guys this too. My father was a Marine, the men's department of the Navy, during Vietnam. And he purchased 4 different houses over the course of our lives. Never once used his VA loan for the exact same thing that you just said. He had no idea that he was entitled. He thought that, you could only use it while you were active duty. He thought the exact opposite, and so it was, this is why we're getting out there and educating. And we have this, we have a great partnership, with a lot of different organizations, but the VFW specifically is one where I get to do a lot of training. And when I go into the VFW, there's a lot of folks there who are Vietnam era. There's a lot of folks who are, maybe, at that stage in life where they don't understand any of their benefits associated with home ownership and buying a house using the VA programs. And when I go in there and I even tell them, guys, you have access to it. It's shocking. And that's why you see some of these stats and you go, man, we have got to get out there. We have to tell folks it's imperative at this point.
Yep. Yeah, leading with education is the best form of business development you can do. So if you're a loan officer out there and you're like, hey, I want to get involved and I want to do more VA business. Well, first of all, get educated yourself, right? Because you can't have blind people blind. A lot of opportunities out there. A lot of great organizations have legit education platforms to learn about VA, right? Like, we have a great one, but what I'm saying is like there's NAMB and VA Europe and stuff like that. They all have these. So education's out there in abundance. And then plus you can also go to va.gov.
Right.
And VA's done a really good job over the last 2 years to update their library to make it way more user-friendly for agents and mortgage professionals. But you got to get smart on this. And then you got to start educating your partners, right? And then you get involved in local community organizations and become kind of the educator and stuff, creating awareness, because awareness is what creates excitement and enthusiasm around stuff. And that's how you build your business. It's a crawl, walk, run strategy, which I think was why a lot of mortgage professionals, don't dive into VA as much, is because it takes some time, because you got to build a reputation, the trust, know what you're actually talking about. But if you're willing to put the time in and sharpen your pencil and get smart and get some sets and reps, this is one of those niches where I am 100% confident. And I've heard it from agents over the last decade. They will send their veterans to a perceived subject matter expert 100 out of 100 times without even worrying about upsetting their referral partner. Okay. They don't send them to jack of all trades. They send them to master of one. So would you rather have 100 referral partners sending you one deal a year, or would you have one referral partner sending you 10 deals a year?
Yeah,
that's simple. Even for Army standards, the math's pretty simple.
I'm just doing it in my head.
Yeah, that's a good segue into this next part, which is really, and thank you for sharing all that stuff. It's awesome. Is there anything that's changed in the overall landscape of veteran lending, 2026 forward, relative to like regulations or rules or, AI and how we're serving the community? Is there any like changes or upgrades or stuff like that?
Well, I can, I'll just take this, David, and then you can jump in. Okay.
Yeah.
So from a VA perspective, VA is adopting AI fast, right? And people that are executing VA would probably know this, that's why they created the ServiceNow ticket process, all that stuff to make it way easier on the field to get fast, timely answers from RLCs whenever we're dealing with scenarios, which is super important because I think where most people get frustrated, right? And why we get frustration from our real estate partners is because lack of understanding of interpretation and then trying to deal with VA to get opinions on it so you can navigate. They have done a really good job over the last year to centralize that stuff so you can have consistency and get consistent answers. Now, fast forward, now on our end, this is what I really love about Loan Depot. So here's a plug for Loan Depot is our credit box is huge. We go down to a 520. Okay. And what I like about this is it's not a smoke and mirrors 520. It's we actually underwrite to 520. So we do a lot of sets and reps at that. What I appreciate about that, because of the current landscape of VA, is average credit score for a veteran, I think in 2025 was probably 710, 714 or something like that nationally out of the 1 million loans that they guaranteed. So to have a box that goes down to 520 takes care of a pretty big sphere of customers, right? And to be able to do that and to effectively underwrite to that allows us to, really capture all those people that are kind of left for dead, right? Because we see the landscape, the makeup of the veteran has changed significantly over the last decade from a credit and finance perspective, but you still have a 25-30% pool of people who have had those issues, had the one, whatever, death in the family, loss of job, all that kind of stuff that have, pretty much by the credit standards been left for dead on the side of the road with a horrible FICO score.
Right.
And lenders who don't have, FICO bands in the 500s, are not what I would consider manual underwrite savvy. And you really need to be manual underwrite savvy to be able to really take care of the full spectrum of vets that are out there trying to apply for loans. And that's one thing I'm really proud of about Loan Depot is we are what I would consider manual underwrite savvy.
David, is that if I'm an originator at a company, and Bryan, if I heard you correctly, there's a portal, like an AI portal, that's basically spitting out answers to questions that veterans can ask. For example, give me the guidelines of the min FICO that I need to have to be able to execute this. And they go, and it says you can have a 520 FICO and still be eligible. And I'm an originator who's serving and supporting our veterans, and they go, oh, no, I'm in FICO 600. David, is that risk for that originator? Like, well, wait a second. The VA said, is there risk there?
Yeah, it's tremendous, right? So, this is where I sit there and we start talking about the stigma associated with VA, right? The stigma is it takes too long to close. The stigma is all veterans have bad credit. Like we're all broke. All these different things that I've heard for years and years and years of doing this. Here's the reality: the VA has gotten wind of this. They've gotten a lot smarter. They're using AI. They've updated a ton of their systems. They put regional loan centers. That's the ROC that Bryan's talking about. They put regional loan centers in place to make our life easier. So when you start talking about credit, And you go out there, the VA doesn't actually have a credit score criteria. What they say is it is the lending organization's responsibility to evaluate the risk of lending money. It is the mortgage company's job to determine who's eligible to get a loan and who is not, right? And so why this matters, and I teach this every single time I give a real estate class and every single time I'm on base, we talk about this because the lenders are the ones who set all those different credit score criteria. So let's say you're at a lender that has a 620 credit score criteria, and you have a client who walks in with a 598 credit score. Of course, immediately they get told, no, you're not eligible for this program. And then unfortunately what happens is they blame the VA. Oh, you're not eligible because of the VA rules. It's not the VA's rules. It's the organization. And why that matters is, as a loan officer, if I am at an organization that has a 620, 640 credit score criteria, but yet I've got a pool of business that has a 580, 590, 600, who are all good quality human beings who want to buy a house, you're stuck in that position where you constantly have to tell them no. And this is like those eye-opening moments where people don't understand VA. They just take whatever the company is saying as that's the truth. That's the way the rules work. It's not. The VA looks at us as a mortgage company, as the mortgage industry. It is your responsibility to evaluate the risk of lending money. Here's your guide rails, but you have to determine where you fall into that category. And that's where I see, when I go out and I do all these different trainings and these different the different classes that we teach, most of the folks come up to me afterwards asking that question, saying, hey, my company's at 620 and I probably told 10 people no last year where I didn't even know that I could do that I could help. And you're leaving,
just missed opportunity.
You're missing the opportunity, but you're also missing the opportunity to help a family.
Yeah, that's the big one, right? Because they're not saying you could go here and they can maybe take care of you, right? You're just saying this can't be done.
Why are so many veterans? Why are so many active duty? Why are they renters? They're renters because people are telling them no when they shouldn't be a no.
Right.
And that's where you're hurting these families in a big way, in a very big way.
Yep.
Peter, I'm pausing. This is your turn. Remember, we scripted this because I talked too much last time.
Well, you just threw a random question in there. We fell off script.
We did? I feel like we were going too script.
I just hit up Peter on the side. I'm like, we're running along. You want to do the next one?
We had a script.
We've done some.
They tried to put a muzzle on this. They said, Shane, we're going to get our questions out first. And, you got to live up to it, Peter. That's all I'm saying.
Want to keep going?
Script.
Let's go. Fire, Peter. Come on, bud. Fire away.
So, we've done some recruiting around like Clarksville, Fort Campbell, various other bases. And those originators that focus there are crushing it, right? They've got great relationships. They've been there for a while. They got family, friends. It's easy money, and a lot of people to be helped. But if I'm not living near a base, and I want to dive into this pillar, what sort of suggestions do you have? Are there other resources, other events, other things I can do to attract that community?
Bryan, I'll give you a shot first because I got a bunch.
Well, at the end of the day, you got to get involved.
Yeah.
Right. Like the easiest way to do it is going to Eventbrite and look for military, events going on or veteran events going on in your market. You're going to have a sweet spot in May and November, right?
You said Eventbrite?
Yeah, Eventbrite. Okay. Lists all kinds of events that are going on. So you can, but that's if you don't know anything. Like you go there, you can start there. You got, nonprofit organizations in every backyard.
Yep.
That support military and veteran stuff, right? And Missouri is a great example. So Missouri has military, but we're scattered, right? So we have military bases at the ends of the state. So where I live in like central Missouri, you don't really have a lot of bases. You got a lot of reservists and stuff like that. But people would think, okay, I don't have active duty, a lot of active duty people around here, so there must not be any veterans, which is not the case. If you looked at the veteran population in Missouri and the male population, it's like 1 out of every 10 men have served in the military in the state of Missouri.
Wow.
Right? So your niche has to be military and veterans, and then you kind of have a pivot point. Like people in San Diego would say, hey, I trip over more active duty people. It's hard for me to find somebody that's not on active duty. than it is vice versa, because I'm San Diego, where Missouri, it's like, a lot of veterans, not a lot of active duty, a lot of reservists, but that niche, that demographics,
yeah, interesting.
Nowhere to go to get. Go ahead, David.
So the Eventbrite is, I think I've lived in that world. That's how, when you have no friends, you can self-invite yourself to a party. That's what I heard Eventbrite is. That's my life. By the way, Peter, can I come over this weekend?
Sure.
All with purpose, baby. Yeah. So I want to jump in on this a little bit too. Look, I live in Houston, Texas, right? There's no major military bases. There's Ellington Air Force Field in South Houston, but there's no major, military establishment until you get over to Fort Hood, which is 3 hours away. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, there are 300,000 households in Houston and surrounding counties that have a veteran that live underneath that roof. And I tell this to people all the time when I go out and teach, because I hear this. You bring up such a great point. Well, I'm not in a military community. You have no idea how much of a military community you probably are in. Veterans are everywhere. They still need our help. There's more veterans than active duty, first off, right? Then you start talking about National Guard. Then you start talking about reserves. Then you start talking about the veteran organizations like Bryan's talking about. All of these folks, I'm just a big believer that if you lead with education, you lead with helping, you do it more with a servant heart as opposed to, just going out there and trying to don't go out there and be that salesperson. Nobody wants that. Right. And in the military, and Bryan can definitely attest to this, we see you coming from a mile away. It's when you're actually doing it the right way. You're leading with education. You're being a good human being. That's who people actually want to work with. Now, here's the second side of this. And Bryan, I know you agree. When you do right by veterans and you take care of them and their families, they will refer you to their entire network because you're authentic and you're doing it the right way.
100%.
And that's how you get into some of these networks. Do it the right way, and I promise you, the word just spreads.
In towns like Houston, maybe this is too big, but honest question here, because David, you hit on something earlier where we were talking about the credit box, right? Min FICO 600, 620 versus 520. If you're in a smaller town and you're an originator that, no, I'm going to serve and support this population. This is where I want to stake my flag in the ground. If you align yourself with an organization that enables you to win deals at a 520, 530, does that also spread? Do realtors get to know this is the person that can do these deals? So Peter, obviously we're recruiters, so I'm looking for angles in this. Yeah. But I'd imagine who you align yourself with. And then David, I have actually, or Bryan, data has become very public, very easily accessible, right? And so you had mentioned 300 households with veterans. Using your guys' stats earlier, that means probably 75,000 VA transactions have been done over the last X amount of years in the Houston area. Yep. We have access to identifying those households and all of the data within that. Yep. Is there any usage of that information and knowledge, or is that too creepy? Is that too weird? You know what I mean? If I use it to identify the realtor they've done a business with and introduce myself to the realtors in a targeted way, or directly trying to engage those folks, is there any value in that?
Well, I think as a loan officer, in my world, where I've trained 35,000 realtors in the last 2 years, realtors want to know this stuff too, right? And Bryan and I, we talk about this all the time. And the number one reason why the veteran doesn't use the VA loan is because the veteran doesn't know how the program works. Well, the number two reason why they're not using the program is because realtors and loan officers are telling them to do something different because they don't know how it works, right? And so when you get out there and you start realizing that real estate agents want to understand this program, they want to help those veterans, and then as a loan officer, you understand the program. Well, now they're leaning on you and they're saying, you know what, you're my VA dude. That's who you are because I need that. Well, here's the thing. If you can take a complicated deal like VA, allegedly complicated, right? The perception is complicated, and you can make that easy. Well, all of a sudden the real estate agents are like, I just work with Bryan because, man, he just does business the way I like the way he does business. It goes from not just VA to just doing everything, and that's a big piece of our business. And Bryan and I, being in business development now forever, That's what we look at. We are, we niche down to helping everybody understand VA, and now it's just, now we understand VA. Now we're doing everything. But back to your original question, Shane. I know I'm circling all the way around. Yes, if you understand VA and you're really good at VA, and you're not direct marketing to the real estate agents and the veterans or active duty service members to help them understand their next steps and the next journey, that would be a mistake to not do that.
Yeah. Yep. So Peter, that's a big thing, right? I'm gonna become at least connected and known to every VA user and or realtor. Yep. Hey guys, I know we've only got a few, so we'll do rapid. And Brian's giving me two fingers. Go.
Two things, real quick. So one of the things when you do an event for realtors, right, and you're trying to educate them, like a David comes in and talks about creating awareness around VA, because that's really what it's about, right? Like awareness. We know the backdoor politics going on in the community with offers not being accepted. That's a whole nother day for a whole nother show.
Yeah,
right. But that's happening, right? It's been plaguing the last 5 years. So creating awareness around, the program and how we win works. But here's what happens. When we leave and the loan officer's still there and they do the follow-up, the deals they are going to get are the deals that the lenders that they're currently working with can't do. Right. So we are going to become the saviors, and we're not going to be able to save them all. This is why I always said our credit box being so big is a value prop to the real estate community and to this demographic, regardless of who they use. Because we already know if you took 100 lenders and said, what's your credit box? There's only about 5% swimming where we swim. And then that pool gets real small. And then you look at, okay, well, who's really good at VA? Well, I'm probably pretty sure there's only one swimming, right? So it's, so you become the savior and you build off of being the savior. And then you come back and then you tell realtors how to actually win. Because I'm done with the whole woe is us, do the deal because we're a veteran and we've entitled the bet. The reality is the program is a strategy. Veterans are credit qualified, have tons of assets, got great jobs. It's not a pity party. This is not out of necessity. It's out of strategy. And we need to start showing people how to win. Right? How to win. Yep. And that's how you win deals, because you're showing them how they can actually win and advocate for their current client.
Like it.
Let's do lightning round for the last 90 seconds. All right. Or 60, whatever. Because we've talked about this from two different angles, right? Yeah, no. Okay. Literally my phone thing wrapped it up.
You put the alarm on us?
Wrap it up. We've talked about this from a lot of different angles. In the mortgage industry, if you don't work with an organization that is helping you to expand and maximize your own book of business and relationships, you might as well just go start your own firm, right? It's the place of an organization to help an originator, achieve success. Right. And so like we've already highlighted on some of the things, like as an organization, if I want to serve and support this community and originators trying to go after this business, credit box is number one, right? Like Brian and Dave, you guys haven't mentioned it yet, but like our VA renovation program with no upper loan limits, that type of stuff. Credit box, product availability, that type of thing. I'd throw in there, just so you don't have to repeat it, data availability and accessibility that originators can have. Yep. What are 2 to 3 things that organizations need to be thinking about to add a value to their origination team to help them increase their book of business and serve this community better? That if I'm an originator, I need to look for if I'm serious about this.
So I know Brian's got some, but I'm giving him a chance to think. So number one,
he needs it.
From an organization standpoint, I think that you have to have a true bona fide expert in that company who can handle some of these questions. Because look, the VA, while it's not extremely complicated, there are things that come up that you need answers on. You need an expert who can like actually address those things. Brian?
So I look at it from, and you're 100% correct. Having dedicated resources shows the commitment of the organization. Yeah, right. It can't be by committee, where you see a lot of organizations that have people who have to make this part of their second and third collateral job to support the organization in something, right? It happens. It happens. I mean, it happens. Very few organizations have dedicated resources for anything, let alone VA. Like, I think we have like the trifecta. We got VA, we got Reno, we got reverse, and now we even have low to moderate income, diversity lending. Like we check all the boards. But most importantly, efficiency and convenience is what will get customers to continuously come back.
So, Bryan, what about back office servicing and teams dedicated to VA mission?
Convenience and efficiency, because at the end of the day, if I can make this really convenient for you, Mr. Customer, especially on the VA side where everybody talks about it's stressful and everything else,
right?
It makes it super convenient with all our tech tools, AI, whatever you want to call it, right? And then I can also be, super efficient, meaning our ops team, underwriting, everybody's in lockstep, right? It's like an assembly line. People know how to deal with VA, and it's like a kitchen. I don't care how you get my steak done. I just want it to show up medium rare, right? So if the chef and the sous chef are battling it out in the kitchen, I don't care. I don't want to hear it either, right? So I just want to be like, hey, man, it's been 17 minutes. I got this wonderful steak. That is creating a convenient, efficient, and less stress environment, and people will remember that. Yep. Especially military, active duty military. Will always.
If I was going to give you one more, because from a company's perspective, if you don't have buy-in and a belief from the top of the organization that this matters and that this is something we care about, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
I'm
going to add one more to the lightning round, and I appreciate that neither of you brought it up because it shows a humbleness about you guys. As an originator, the hardest thing that you can do is get connected to consumers and realtors, and as you were saying, actually do the education. It's one thing to say, know the product and hold an education. Well, how the heck then do I do an education seminar? How the heck do I actually connect with veterans in the community? Like, I got the knowledge. I don't know how to do it. And I'd argue that for an originator in building their business, everything you said matters, but matters just as much as if I can pick up the phone, I can call David and say, David, I've got a real estate office that said I can come in and educate, help.
Yeah.
Or go a step further, not even needing me to do that, and just having two leaders like you guys creating solutions to educate and add value to our veteran community that you are then able to turn and introduce the veterans directly to originators, in a sense, out of left field.
Yep.
And you guys have engineered that. And as a producer, I can have all the knowledge in the world. I can have the best point of sale in the world. You guys describe the best operations in the world. But if I don't have that opportunity at the top of the funnel, it doesn't matter. None of it gets used. And I think an organization that can develop those processes and connect that to an originator is vital. And you guys have done that.
That's big.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right.
So I have one last thing. So what's on the agenda this year, guys? What's you guys have a full calendar for all over the country. What's the highlight or a couple highlights for this year?
Well, I will say, be on the lookout because we're rolling out what I believe will be the best mortgage banking VA education platform on the planet. We have the content, we have everything built out from a content strategy perspective, and we're also going to fill a major gap for our active duty military community, and that'll be another day for another announcement. But that's two of the biggest things that I can think of off the top of my head, David.
Nice.
Education. We will be training the market. Bryan and I talk about this all the time. If we can teach our consumers, meaning the veterans and the active duty service members, we're doing internal training, right? All of our loan officers that are here, we're trying to raise their level on VA to beyond confident, and then we get out there and we teach our real estate partners. Then we can start talking about some of our actual partnerships that we have with different organizations, which that list is becoming really impressive. But at this point, and Bryan and I were making a joke, like just the other day, these organizations are calling us now because they hear what we're doing inside it, kind of helping all these groups grow and taking care of that membership. And so we look at it and say, what's on that? What are we going to do in 2026? Guys, we're going to teach a lot of people, and we're going to keep raising awareness, and we're going to make sure that more veterans are taken care of and taken care of the right way using what I argue is one of the greatest benefits we earn from serving this country.
Yep. Love it. Love it.
Boys, thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Appreciate you. And
Thanks, guys.
kick some booty.
See you in February.
All right.
See you guys.
See you.